Okay, I figured out off stream how to do the thing. Um, there was a test that I wasn't passing that it was supposed to be 20 days and I was getting 19 days. And the issue was that I wasn't taking into account when it transfers from PM to AM. So the extra day wasn't counting. And the way that I solved was by making days equals plus one. Once that happens, and that seems to solve it. So there's still 5 tests that I'm not passing. I think most of them involve the day of the week. Yeah. And then this last one, I think, still involves 2 days later. For some reason, it's not getting when days equals true. So I think I'm gonna copy this and try to see what happens. Oops. I'm not sure if I got all this stuff that I did here on the Python tutor page. Oh, it's missing this. So remainder 12. Hours equals 12. See if the hour is correct. Yeah, the hour seems to be right. It's just that it's not giving 2 days later. It's printing next day. Days one. There. So I think this is a special case. Yeah, it's gonna be 24 divided by 24. I think the issue here is the same thing from PM to AM. So between 12 and 1 AM is gonna give me this problem, I think. So how can I solve this? I think this is way to put an if statement for this situation, but let me see the hours. Yeah, 12. So I can make if hours equals 12, then I add 2 days. Let's see if this works. Yeah, now it gives me 2 days. Let's see if this passes there. The indentation is slightly wrong. That's probably correct. Nice, it worked. So now I have to figure out the days of the week. So one way that I'm thinking about doing this is, I think I'm gonna do it in the end. And I have these args here, and I'm gonna make them lowercase. That way, if they pass something that says uppercase, it's gonna be all the same thing. I'm not sure if I can use it like that though, but we'll see. So the first letter should be capital. So after I assign, I figure out which day it is. Then I can change again the string. I'll have to look that up because I don't know how to make just one letter capital. So first I make them to lowercase. Then I'm gonna make a list here. How can I name that? Let's make list of days. And then here I'm gonna put lowercase. I'm not sure if this gives me a problem. Should give these spaces between, but maybe it does. Yeah, it's better not to put it actually. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then what I'm gonna do is loop through through this list using that thing there, the enumerate function. So it has to be before this because I'm gonna append. I'm gonna make an if statement. So for how can I say, I already used days as a variable for index, and then result days. Enumerate. I think that's how it works. So index is the index of the list, and result days is each element of the thing. Now I have to figure out how to. I think the days variable is gonna be equal to the amount of times I want to loop through the string. So first I want to match. I want to get the args. Well, actually, I wonder if I can make these results days. No, it can't be the args, but it's gonna be each element of the list. So first I want to get the index of x args. Let me write this down because I'm gonna have to search it, so I'm not sure how to do it. Then I want to start the loop with the x args number. Maybe I should do that outside of the loop to get the index of x args. And make it equal to a variable. Well, maybe the enumerate's not gonna be the best for this. Because I only need the index of the x arg, the symbol here that I don't know how to say. Args and the amount of times that I wanna loop. So I think I'm gonna make for I in range days. Then how can I say start loop on the thing? I'm gonna write what I want first. So I want to loop through list of days starting on the xargs index and the number of iterations has to be equal to the number of days. Then I want to return, not return, but append no, I think it's gonna be better to make it equal to a variable. To assign resulting value of the list to a variable. So I have to think about ways to make this happen or to search for how to make this happen because I'm not sure if that's possible. So first, I think I'm gonna search for how to get the index of a variable. Dot index should make it happen. So I'm gonna make index equal to maybe I should do comments as well. I never do comments. That's something I should probably get into the habit of doing. So I think this is gonna give me the index of the thing. Let me get one of the problems that didn't pass. Line 62. Oh yeah, forgot about this. I'll comment this out for now. Yeah, so this is not possible. Seems too complicated. If there's an easier way. If I just do this, it will work. Nice. Something went wrong, obviously. So it's a tuple. Tuples can't be modified, I think. Maybe it works, but it's just a different command. So it's lower, just lower, I think. Nice. Now it works. Okay, so it's working. So I need to check if the args is offered. Now I have to look through this. So I have the index and I have the days. So how can I look from the starting position? Maybe I should just search that. I wonder if I just type the name, it's gonna recognize that it is a variable already, or it's just gonna assume a new variable. I can't import libraries. I think I can just use this then.
Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of
Also, enumerate uses the start index. Maybe this works. It's actually the other way around. Or actually, I don't need to loop now that I think about it. I can also sum. No, I need to loop, actually. So this loops from the index until I reach the days. Now I have to think about it. How do I say at the end of the loop to append to the list? Oh, and this has to be after the list. It has to be here actually. And there needs to be an if statement as well. If the argument is provided, then this dot appends results this. Thing is that this index is not going to be a variable. Let me run this and see what happens. So index is 1, days is 20. Yeah, it didn't work. String string index out of range. The index is gonna be increased by one each time the loop goes. Until it reaches the end of the list, and then it's gonna be zero again. Oh yeah, I can use length maybe. No, it's probably not gonna work. Maybe I can use. Oh no, because index is not gonna be equal to days. Maybe I can do a variable outside. Maybe this works. I think it worked because of the number of the loops, the steps. Yeah, it starts from Monday. Oh, I can make I equals index. So the result today is gonna be it still didn't append the result to the list. Yeah, it's only looping times instead of 20. I don't need to have this I here. Just make index plus equals 1. Then I make this a different variable.
Welcome back to the Python 3 for Beginners tutorial, and today we are going to be talking about loops. And by loops, I mean for loops and while loops. And if we have time, we'll also be talking about range. So let's get started. So for loops are most generally used for lists, which is what we talked about last time. I'm just going to create a list called list. Oh, can't do that. I'll create a list called L. Set that equal to, I don't know, let's use strings. One thing I forgot to mention was last time in lists, you don't just have to use numbers or integers in your list. You can also use strings. So for this, we'll just use we'll just type in some letters. So 1, 2, 2, and 3, and we'll go up to 4. Okay, so we have 4 items in our list, and those 4 items are 1, 2, 3, and 4 in a string format. So, or a string type. So if we go ahead and we do a for loop, basic syntax is here. I'll just type it out. So for, and then the next thing that it is the variable that we want to store all of these items in. So I'm just going to call them I, for I, in, and then in just says, well, what list do you want to do, or what do you want it to be in? So I want this to be for I in L, which is the name of the list that we're doing, and then you do the colon, and that tells you, okay, so this is what
We can make for a list of days in range. Is there's more steps? Oh, that's a good sign. Oh yeah, I have to specify. I'm gonna do that. And it reassigned the value of list of days.
this is what we're looping through right here. This is what we're setting the variable for. Now do this, and I just want to print I. Now this is the variable that we'll be working with inside of this for loop over here, and I want to print I, which is the items in this list. So if we go ahead and run Python and loops.py, that is just what I have saved this as. You'll see it does 1, 2, 3, and 4, because that is every item inside of our list. So say we append something, so we do l.append, and then we also append 5. Then you will see that it has appended that, and it has printed 5, because that is now added to this list also. So if you remember me talking about slicing up lists and slicing up strings and all that, you can also
I try to do it the other way and see if it works. Yeah.
do the same thing when you're talking about for loops. So say I want to start from the second and go all the way to the end. What will happen is it will only do 3, 4.
Oh, if I erase the range. But I'm assuming that it will rewrite the value of this. Yeah, it's just looping through the list nowadays becomes Monday.
Four and five because it ignores the first two because we're starting at the second. So the second one's right here. And we can also reverse this and go to 2, not 52, 2, save that, and run it, and we don't even have to use a variable. We can go print and then do, programming is awesome. Now this will print programming is awesome 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we told it that the range is 5. So that just shows you we don't even have to use this right here. But say if we did use that, then what this would do is it would do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because computers start counting at 0. So if I wanted it to print all the way up to 5 starting from 0, I would just have to add 1 to what I originally had, and you'll see it will go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's also other parameters you can do inside of the range function, and this is going to be our min. So the first parameter is our minimum. So where do we want to start? By default, it starts at 0, but say I want to start at 1. Then our second is our maximum. So say I want to have it 5 like I did before. And the third parameter is optional. I'm just going to show you what this does for now. It does 1, 2, 3, 4. Because like I said, basically just take the second number and subtract that by 4, and that's what it's going to do. But say I have the increment be 2, and that is the third parameter, how much you want to increment it by. So I go ahead and print this. It will do 1 and 3 because I'm telling it to start at this, end at this, and it only can, and it has to add up to 2 each time. So that's the thing. But if I set this to 10 and increment it by 2, and start at 0 like I did before, then you will see it does 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. But if I started at 2, it will only do 2, 4, 6, 8. So that is range. I'm going to go ahead and delete, actually, no, we'll keep this. We'll just comment it out. And how you multi-line comment things out is 3, not 4, 3, quotation marks. And that ends off the loop right there. And then anything under here you can see is just a normal program. And this will be all ignored until you remove these 3 things right here. Okay, so I'm going to set a variable called x. I'm going to set that equal to 10. Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about while loops. Now what while loops do is it loops while the condition is equal to true, but as soon as that condition is equal to false, it exits the loop completely and continues to read down the code. So, for example, if I just go ahead and if I say while, and then I do x is...
I can do a while.
greater than 5. Now, right now, 10 is greater than 5. And say I just go ahead and, oh, whoops. Oh my goodness, print x. Okay, so I don't want to run this because this will be an infinite loop. I'll just show you right here.
Mine doesn't have the parentheses. The issue is gonna be the results today, but I'll think about it later. So at least it works. No, I think I should put a list of days. The question is, how do I get the index? Maybe I need to do another loop.
It will constantly print 10, which is this variable right here, and I just press Control-C to get it to stop because I don't want my computer to crash. And less than 5, it exits. Then I change it to Boolean.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Python quick tips. In today's video, we're going to be going over the enumerate keyword / function and what that does in terms of its use in a for loop. Now, what I want to do is just introduce a problem here that enumerate can solve for us. So essentially, let's say we have a list here, like apples, pears, oranges, fruits. We want to loop through the list, and we want to get the elements in our list as well as the index of those elements. Very common problem. You need to do this for tons of different exercises. I'm sure you guys have created a solution like I'm about to introduce here. So one way that we might do this without the use of enumerate is for elements in my list, which means we're going to loop through apples, pears, oranges, fruits, all the elements but not the indexes. We'll print that element out, and then maybe we're going to also check for a certain index to occur. So we say if it's index 1, which essentially means whatever the second element is, let's print the count is 1. That's just something I want to do. And then we have this other variable outside of our for loop that's defined, and we count and keep track of what index we're on by doing that. So essentially this count is outside, it keeps track of what number we are on in the list, and then we can look at that and do something accordingly. Since we already have the element, we can just print that out by doing element, but this is really not like the best way to do this. Now another way that we can do this is like this. We can say for x in range the length of my list, so rather than looping through the elements, we'll loop through the indexes in our list, and then we say print my list x, which is going to be the element because we're accessing the element at index x. Then we say if x equals 1, which means we're at the second element or the first index of our list, we'll print x is 1. Now these are fine, these work, but I'm going to show you a more elegant solution up here that's much better. So what you can actually do is use an enumerate keyword, which allows you to loop through not only the index but the element as well. So we can say for x element in enumerate, and then we put my underscore list like this, and I'll just show you what we can actually do here. We can print x element, and I'll show you what this looks like. So I'm going to erase these so that we don't see these, and let's run this, and what we get is 0 apples, 1 pears, 2 oranges, 3 fruits. Essentially, x lines up with the index of the element, and we're able to access both x, which is going to be our index, and the element by simply doing this, x, comma, element. Really nice, super simple, and this is what enumerate does. I use it like hundreds of times a day when I'm writing code. It definitely does save you a bit of time and just make your code look a little
I can do this for loop inside of the while loop, but it seems like too many steps. Seems like it's an inefficient way to do it. That's why I'm trying to avoid it. Just trying to think about a way to keep looping through the list until I get to the number. The issue is if I make it dependable on a variable, then the variable is gonna increase and it's gonna get outside of the index of the list. But it feels like there must be a way to do this. Because it's quite intuitive.
Hey there, this is Dan Bader, and today I want to talk about how you can make your loops more Pythonic. So I know a lot of people are migrating to Python from different language backgrounds, and one of the things that makes it very easy to spot someone with a background in, let's say, a C-style language, like C, C++, Java, C#, and what makes it very easy to spot is how they write their loops. So in this case here, I've got this list with 3 items, and I want to iterate over that so I can print out each item. So this is the end result we want to get here. And if you see someone writing a loop like this in Python, let's say during an interview situation or when you're reviewing someone's code, it becomes very clear that this person is not super familiar with how a loop like that would be written in Python. So it looks like a C-style, Java-style loop, right? We're keeping track of this index variable here, and we're taking the length of that list to iterate over it. And then we're also accessing each element based on the index. And of course, we need to keep track of our loop variable here. So not very Pythonic. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go over this loop and I'm going to refactor it. I'm going to go over all of these items that I just called out, and I'm going to make sure we're going to make this loop as Pythonic as possible and really make this seem like a loop that a native Python developer would have written. So the first thing I'm going to change here is how this loop was keeping track of the loop index manually. So we're incrementing this little counter variable called I, and that's not very Pythonic. So thankfully there's a way in Python to do that automatically using the range built in. So in this case, I'm going to call the range function with the length of my container, which is not ideal, just kind of foreshadowing some things, but we're going to change that right after. So if I call this, what I get back is a range object. Now a range object is a generator in Python, so it's going to be generating these individual indexes from 0 all the way to 2, because it's not going to include the right-hand side element. And actually, if you want to see what this looks like, I can call list on this range object, and that's going to kind of go through the whole generator, and it's going to give me a list with the elements generated by the generator. So as you can see here, this range object would go from 0 all the way to 3 minus 1, which is 2. And what I can do now is I can refactor that loop using the built-in range function, and that allows me to get rid of the index tracking. And again, this is going to work exactly the same. When you can see here now, we're using this range object to generate these loop indexes one by one. Now, by the way, if you're in Python 2, you want to use the X range built in to actually get a generator, because if you're using range in Python 2, it will pre-create the whole range as an actual list, which is going to be bad for memory usage. So if you're going to create, a huge range in Python 2, this would actually pre-create all of those elements, which is probably not what you want. So on Python 2, you want to use the X range built in. It does exactly the same as range, but the key difference is that it actually returns a generator versus returning the actual list. Now, if you took this refactored loop and you showed it to a Python programmer, they would probably cringe a little bit, because this is really not ideal yet. So this could be simplified further. I mean, we're a little bit better because we got rid of this manual index.
Search something.
Index tracking, but there's more we can do. So actually, a key thing to realize is that for loops in Python are really more like for each loops in other languages. So you can use them to iterate over items from a container or sequence directly, and you don't have to look up each individual item by index. So I can take this loop and simplify it even further by taking advantage of that. So this is what it would look like. I would just go for item in my items, which is nice because now we're actually giving a real name to this variable here, calling it item. We completely got rid of the I and the indexing here, and this is going to work just the same. So this implementation is much more Pythonic. It got rid of the need to actually use the range built in. We're not having to call len to get the length of that list, but instead we're just going to iterate over that container, and the container itself is going to take care of handing out these elements so we can process them. So if the container is ordered, like in a list, the resulting elements that we're iterating over are also going to be ordered, and if the container is not ordered, then it will return the elements kind of in an arbitrary order. So this is going to give us all the elements, but there's no guarantees how we're iterating over them depending on the container that you use. But these two examples here, because we're dealing with a list, they are exactly the same. Like we're getting exactly the same resulting printout here. Now, maybe you're wondering, what should I do if I need
Let me copy the stuff that I did here already, so don't lose it.
Need the item index, right? You might not always be able to rewrite your loops that way with a for each loop if you actually need the item index. And thankfully, there's a Pythonic way to keep that running index that allows us to avoid this kind of odd looking range of length of something construct. And for that, we have the built-in enumerate function. So as you can see here, I've changed this for loop a little bit. So now I'm calling enumerate on this list here. And enumerate is another generator. And what it's going to do is it's going to return a running index and then also the actual element. And you can see that here. So it's returning the index first and then the actual item in that container. So it's, well, enumerating the container. And I can take advantage of that. If I ever need the actual index, I can use enumerate. And that will be the Pythonic way to deal with the situation versus keeping track of that index manually. Let's take a look at what this does when we actually run it. All right, so this iterated over the whole container and it was keeping track of a running index and it was also printing each item individually. So again, enumerate is very handy for those kinds of situations.
Oh yeah, I can do the loop outside. Oh, but the thing is, yeah, I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Well, I can also, yeah, I think that's a much easier way to do it actually. I can just subtract the days, the index from the days, and do a for range. I think that's gonna work. Let's see. Now I just have to think about how do I get the last value. How do I get the last value of the loop? Oh yeah, I can make another variable. Let's see if this works. So this loop doesn't work for. Valid syntax.
Situations. So I really want to make everyone happy with this video about writing more Pythonic loops. And I know that a common question is, hey, so what if I absolutely have to write a C-style loop? Like, what if I have this and I need to convert that to Python in some way? Maybe because, I'm using a different step size here. Like, how would I do this? Just assuming I would have to do this, how can I do this? And for that, we're going to come back to the range function. So what you would do here is you would use the range function in a way that actually maps pretty closely to the C-style loop here. The range can take several more parameters. So you can pass the initial value to it, which I called A here, and you can pass it the, number, like the right-hand side value in that range, or sort of the number of elements that you're iterating over that I called N here, and you can see how that maps. And then you can also pass a third parameter that's going to be the step size. So with that S parameter, you can influence how big of a step the range is going to take between elements. So if you want to iterate over every 10th element in a list, you would just use a step size of 10, and then instead of iterating over each element individually, you would jump ahead 10 elements at a time. And that would allow you to pretty much adapt any kind of C-style for loop that is using this indexing stuff.
Yeah, so I is 19. Yeah, but list of days becomes 0. So that should be another loop.
Take that and turn it into a sort of Pythonic loop. Now, to wrap this up, I just want to reiterate some of the key points in this video. So first of all, writing C-style loops in Python is considered unPythonic. It's not very natural. It's not a very natural way to do that in Python. And so if possible, you should try and avoid managing loop indexes and these stop conditions manually. The other thing is that Python's for loops are really for each loops. So they can iterate over items from a container or a sequence directly and just kind of consume items from that container and then hand them to you. And you should really take advantage of that if you're writing Python code, because then you don't need to manage all these indexes, index lookups, and keeping track of that manually. You don't have to do that. Python will do it for you. And that way you can reduce the amount of code you need to write, the amount of code you need to manage. And that's a great way for you to simplify your programs. And using these Python style loops also makes it harder to introduce bugs, right? You can't really be off by one, or you can't be running past the end of a container if you're using a for each style loop. So I would really encourage you to use them. And actually I wrote a whole blog post about this. So if you're interested in that, then just check out the link in the description and you can read the whole thing and kind of recap some of the takeaways here in this video. Cool. Well, best of luck and happy Pythoning.
Starting to think there isn't a way to do this. Maybe the whole way I'm thinking about it is wrong. Yeah, I can do this instead as well. The issue is that if I reset, then it's never gonna get to the value that I want to look for. Or maybe not. Let's see what this does first. Then I'll think about it. Oh, visit becomes Monday. I'll go to the bathroom real quick. Back. Okay, what I need is a different loop. Maybe I can use this one. I should use a different variable here. Why is it only going up to 7? I think it's because it only loops through the list once. That's the issue. So I think the only way I can think about making this happen is doing 2 loops. I'm just gonna try to do that. I'm gonna erase this from here. And I'm gonna put this here. Oh, actually, so while I, which is the number of iterations I want, is less than v, I'm gonna make this loop. And when v is equal to I, then I will append the list of days. See, which is the index of the list of days. Let's see if this works. The issue is that if it works, yeah, it's just a lot more steps. That's the problem. But I just can't think about any other way to make this happen. At least it works, I think. Oh no, it's gonna append all of them. That's the issue. Yeah, the problem is that I don't wanna loop each time. I wanna make this number, which is I think. Where is it? Yeah, I wanna make I wanna loop through the list I times. And this is looping each time, one time through the whole list. I think I'm gonna try to do the reset thing then. I think it's this one.
Hey there, this is Dan Bader, and today I want to talk about how you can make your loops more Pythonic. So I know a lot of people are migrating to Python from different language backgrounds, and one of the things that makes it very easy to
I
write
already
for that,
saw
so I can
this.
print out each item. So this is the end result we want to get here. And if you see someone that would be written in Python, I'm going to make sure we're going to make this loop as Pythonic as possible and really make this seem like a loop in Python to do that automatically. But we're going to change that right after. So the right-hand side element. And actually, if you want to see what this looks like, I can call list. So as you can see here, this range object would go from 0 all the way to 3 minus 1 to generate these loop indices one by one. Now, by the way, if you're in Python 2, you want to use the X range.
Hello guys and welcome to Python programming tutorials by Amul's Academy. Today in this tutorial we are discussing about how to loop with index in Python. Because here I'll take one example. Okay, this is my list. Here we can see the elements of the list. Here using loop we can only print the values of the list. To print the both index and values we need to use the length function, that is for I in Okay, now length of color, it means it will give an integer value, that is the length of the color, that is 3. So range function will give the output as 0, 1, 2. So we can print value as well as index by using this. Just like this, print here I and color of I. And here we can see 0 red, 1 blue, 2 yellow. Okay, instead of range and length function, we can use a built-in function enumerate, which will do the same work. So first we'll see what is enumerate function. For that I'll go for help, enumerate, okay, and enter. Okay, here we can see the information about the enumerate function, and it belongs to the class enumerate, and this is the syntax of enumerate. Here iterable and start is optional, and here we can see enumerate object yields pairs containing count and value yielded by that iterable argument, and here we can see the methods belong to that. Okay, now we'll take the example. Okay, so first we create a list called color. Okay, so for I comma j in enumerate function, here the first argument is iterable, that is color, it is a list, and if you want you can mention the start. So here and here we can see 0 red, 1 blue, 2 yellow. Here I is the count and j is the value. Here if you want you can mention the start also. I'll mention it should start from 1, and here we can see 1 red, 2 blue, 3 yellow. Okay, this is about the enumerate function. And
I'll try to see if it resets. If I reset the index, it's gonna keep going. I think it's just length, the name. think just like this. Let's see if this works. Maybe like this. Yeah. Let me print this to see what it is. Seven. Okay. So that should be -1. Yeah, it doesn't work. Just loops through it one time.
And how to loop with index in Python. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe my channel.
In this lecture, I'm going to show you how to loop over lists. So here we have a list of 3 items. We can use our for loops to loop over this list. So for, letter, in letters, colon, and then we print each letter. Save the changes and run the code, we get A, B, C. Now, what if we want to get the index of each item as well? Well, we have a built-in function called enumerate. We call it here, and this will return an enumerate object, which is iterable. In each iteration, this enumerate object will give us a tuple. Let me show you. So now when we run this code, look, in each iteration, we're getting a tuple. So a tuple, as I told you before, is like a list, but it's read-only. We cannot add new items to it. So in each iteration, we're getting a tuple of 2 items. The first item in this tuple is the index, and the second item is the item at that index. So now to get the index, we can use square brackets to access the first item in this tuple. So if we print letter of 0, we will get the indexes, and right next to that, we can add letter of 1. So we will see the item at a given index. But this syntax is a little bit ugly. In the last lecture, you learned about list unpacking. So if we have a list with 2 items, 0 and A, we can unpack it into 2 variables like this, index, comma, letter equals items. So here we're unpacking the items list. Now, what if we change square brackets to parentheses? Now we have a tuple, and we can still unpack this tuple. So you saw that this enumerate function returns an enumerate object, which is iterable. In each iteration, this enumerate object will return a tuple that looks like this. So we can unpack it right here. So we add another variable, index. Now with this, we no longer have to use square brackets, and we can simply print index and letter. Let's run this code. There you go. So now we don't need this anymore. So to recap, you can use for loops to iterate over lists. If you also need the index, you should call the enumerate function. This will return an enumerate object, which is iterable. In each iteration, it will return a tuple, and you can unpack that tuple right here. Hi guys, thank you for watching this tutorial. My name is Mosh Hamadani, and I have tons of tutorials like this for you on my channel. So be sure to subscribe, and also
Hello friends, welcome to Python video series. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to loop through the list items. Yeah. So here you can see I have a list, and that list just I'm printing, but I'm not looping through. Right here you can see entire loop is getting printed as it is. Let's say if I would like to loop through the list item, then how we can do? There are many ways we can do that. Simplest way to loop through each item in the list using for loop. So what you have to do? You have to write the for loop. So you have to give the for keyword, and after that you can give any variable name. I can give I'm giving variable name as if, and after that you have to give the in keyword, and after that you have to give the your list name, which is nothing but in this case fruits, and afterwards you have to give the colon, and inside that you can print all its elements or items. So this is the very simplest way to loop through the each and every item of this list. Here you can see all items gets printed. Now let's move forward and let's see how we can print the list item or loop through the list item in some other way, right? You can also loop through the list item by referring to their index number, right? And for that we will use range and len function to create a suitable iterable, right? So whenever you use for loop, the internally Python uses basically iterator, right? So this is nothing but this is iterable object. So how we can create iterable object instead of specifying directly collection, we can create iterable object and we can pass it over here, and after that we can refer every elements in this list by its index. So here what I'm going to do, I will use the for loop only. I will say for, and I is the variable name in, and here I'm going to use the range function, and within the range function I'm going to call len function, and here I'm going to pass my list is called fruits. Now this is nothing but this is iterable, right? And within that what I'll do, I will refer list item, my list item by their index. So here I is nothing but the index, and if I run, then here you can see again I have printed the list using basically by referring its index number. So this is the second way to iterate list item, right? Let's say what are the other way. So now next approach I'm going to show you using while loop. So what happens, we can use a len function to determine the length of the list, and then we have to start from the 0th index and loop your way through the list items by referring their indexes. Let me show you. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to declare a variable I and just initializing with 0, and let's say I'm going to use while loop, and within the while loop what I'll do, I less than, I will call the len function. Here I'm going to pass my list, which is nothing but the fruits, and within the list just I'm going to refer my list item by their index, and don't forget to increment this index by 1 in every iteration, else if you do not specify this line of code, then this loop will go for infinity number of times, and every time here print function is
That's another way, I think. Also think now that I'm doing this wrong, because yeah, I should start on the index. It's not just the number of times. I should start on the index and then iterate over days. So this is wrong.
going to print the first item only. So if I run, then here you can see, so 3 times we have printed loop, and third time we have printed entire list by using while loop. So guys, here I have shown you how to loop through a list using 3 approach as of now, right? Now fourth approach we are going to learn looping using list comprehension. List comprehension offers the shortest syntax for looping through list. Let's see how we can do that. So what you have to do, this is the very shortest approach to loop through the loop. So here you have to write the first of all square bracket, and just I'm going to print the item, which is f. Now you have to use a for loop, and of course this f you are printing, so you have to give the same variable name, and then you have to give in, and then your list name, which is nothing but the fruits, and that's it. In single line using list comprehensive, you can loop through the list item. Let me show you. And now here you can see 4 approaches: first, second, third, and fourth approach. So of course list comprehension is the very shortest way to loop through the list items. So in next video, of course, we are going to look list comprehension.
I think I have to use the while loop. Then I have to think about the way to use the variables. So let me think about this. So here there's 6 elements. 1, 2, 7. These are the 1, 2. So every time that it gets to 7, I need to reset. While days bigger than V. So this loops through the days. Then I think I need to make the index dependent on the number of iterations. Yeah. So instead of making C, I'm gonna make if index, then index equals 0. And then here I'm gonna increase index by 1. That way it starts on the index, and then when it reaches the length, it makes the index 0 again. And then here I can do index. Let's see if it works. It's the answer. Tuesday. Didn't work. Maybe if I just make it equal to the length instead. So it's Tuesday, I got Thursday. Let me think about this. I think at least I'm getting closer. Oh, it's because of the first loop, I think. So one issue is that this index has to be after the thing, I think. Because otherwise it's gonna start at index 2, which is Wednesday. But then I'm gonna get Wednesday and not Tuesday, so I think it's both of these things. So this has to be after the thing. And this has to be just this. Maybe this works. Yeah, it's not gonna make a difference actually. I can change the number of loops as well. Yeah, index out of range. So that should be -1 there. And it's not gonna make a difference where this is located because it doesn't matter. See where it starts. Maybe I don't need this index +1. Now that I think about it. Yeah, I don't think I need this. Because I'm already setting it to 0 up there. Yeah, but then if I don't increment, it's gonna always be 1. So I can make -1. And then increment here. Yeah, the issue is if it's 0, then it's gonna become -1. Yeah, but doesn't matter because the first iteration is gonna reset to what it actually is. Yeah, I think it's still gonna give me Wednesday, but it's closer at least. Yeah. So I'm supposed to get Tuesday, I'm getting Wednesday. So I think a good way to solve this, a simple way, is just put -1 here. Nice. So now I'm gonna formulate. I'm not sure if this is gonna work for all the things, but at least it's some progress. And I'm gonna have to do this here. Art is given. Do this. Yeah. Yeah, the issue is this dots here as well. I don't need to append it, I just need to make it equal to a variable, I think. And then I can make the custom string. So yeah, I think that's better because otherwise it's gonna mess up the list there. And wanna do exactly this format, but without days later. Yeah, this is the way that it has to return. PM, then a comma. Yeah. So I'm gonna make this equal to a variable instead. Final day.
comprehension or list comprehensive concept in much more detail.
Today we're talking about how to tell if an optional parameter has been passed in. This first case is the lucky case because we don't have to. In this case, x is either passed in or it gets the value 42. But it's not always possible to put the value of your default argument in the function definition up here. For instance, in this case, the default argument that we want is the length of an array. We can't know that length when we define the function, so we have to compute it dynamically. Another reason not to put a default value up here is if the default value is mutable like a dictionary. Default values are defined at the time that the function is defined, not when the function is called. So if you had a default mutable argument like a dictionary, then that dictionary would be shared amongst all calls to the function. Doing this is a very common source of bugs. So you might be tempted to do the following. Set the default value to none, and then use a Boolean expression to tell whether or not none was passed in. This isn't always wrong, but I do think it's a bad habit. What if 0 or the empty dictionary were valid parameters? This code would throw out those parameters and replace them with the defaults. What I recommend doing is the following. Again, keep none as your default argument, and then set x to be either itself, if it's not none, or otherwise compute the default. This explicit check to see whether x is none allows us to pass in 0 if we need to. You can also do it this way, explicitly checking if the parameter is none, and setting the default if it is. I prefer always using this explicit check against none because it's one less thing that I have to think about. I don't need to worry about whether 0 or an empty object might be a valid parameter. However, there is one exceedingly rare case where this still isn't enough. What if I actually want to distinguish between the cases when a user passes in none versus when they don't pass in anything? If you are writing a function this way, I really encourage you to take a look at your function and think about it. Do you really need to distinguish those cases? Is there any way you can avoid it? Most of the time, I think you can avoid it, but especially for code that writes other code or highly generic code, sometimes it just can't be avoided. For those cases, we'll use something called a sentinel. A sentinel is an object whose sole purpose is to check whether or not something is or isn't the sentinel value. In many cases, it's okay to use the Python built-in none as a sentinel value. That's what we did in the previous example. But if we want to distinguish none, then we have to make our own sentinel. Once again, we just set the sentinel to be the default value, and then check explicitly using the is operator whether or not the passed-in argument is the sentinel. Now we can easily distinguish whether we have the sentinel value or none. Here we have two example uses of the sentinel pattern in the Python standard library. On the left, we see its use in the data classes library, and on the right, we see its use in the functools library. However, the sentinel pattern will get you into trouble if you want to type check your code. You can see here that MyPy is giving me an error correctly, telling me that missing isn't the right type. The way that the standard library gets around this is by using the overload decorator from the typing library. Get rid of the type annotations in your actual implementation of the function.
You can have a better way to check. Let me copy this stuff. So args string is the string. I'm gonna check to see if args string is a string, and if it isn't, then it means that they didn't pass an argument. This returns true. Okay, so at least it works. Now I'm gonna make the case for the same condition here. So how am I supposed to do this? It's gonna be the time, which is new time, plus start one, plus I think I'm gonna need to do this here. And then the variable final. Okay. Think this works. Then I'm gonna do an else. I think it might be better to do on the Python tutor because of the indentation. Hmm. I can make the same condition here. So where can I see? Let me clear the console and run again to see how many mistakes I'm getting. Hmm. So I guess I have to check how to know if there are arguments or not. Let's see this. It's an empty tuple. Yeah, so I can't do this. Nice. So this works apparently. Maybe the other conditions will fail. So if it does, I will rewrite them. Yeah. Well, actually, I can't make it that way because the condition has to be when there is an empty tuple. Args empty tuple. And then args string becomes an empty string. Now it should work, I guess. Yeah. Let me try to make this condition for all of them. One failure and 3 errors. Monday's not in list. Oh yeah, I forgot to capitalize the letter. Saturday is not in list. But it doesn't matter because I made it lowercase. These are just errors, so I guess it's fine. I have to look for the ones that are not working. Yeah, I think the mistake is the capital letter. I think it's camel case. I think it's just making the getting the index of the word. Capitalize.
Hi friends, welcome to World. In this video we are going to discuss some of the
Hopefully
built-in
there
string
is a way.
functions in Python.
Mm.
Friends, before coming to it, if you're
Hopefully there is a simple way to
watching our channel first time, or if you like to get this type of technical videos in future, consider
do it.
subscribing. Also don't forget to enable that bell icon near the subscribe button so that you will get notification message whenever we upload a new video. Okay, now coming back to our topic, today we will see some of the built-in string functions like capitalize, case hold, lower, upper, is lower, and is upper. Okay, right. So first of all, we will see capitalize. So what is the use of this built-in function capitalize? This method is used to return a string's first character in uppercase. Now we will see an example for this built-in function capitalize.
So why is this not working? Don't understand. Oh, 20 days later. Oh, I see now. So it has to be the same thing that I did here. Maybe just this one is enough. Tuesday plus it's still failing. So it's the day that is wrong. Let me see. Damn. Maybe if I lower the spaces. Yeah, I can test it here now. Too long for testing in Python tutor. Just 14 more. Maybe it works. Nice. So the output that I need to get is 8:16, 40, no, 6, 6:18 a.m. Monday, 20 days later. The time seems to be right. It's getting Tuesday. I'm supposed to get Monday. Why is this happening? So the initial index is Tuesday. Just one. So I make the index 0. Oh, this is not working. No, it is working. Yeah, it starts at 1. So V days maybe has to be one more iteration. 1 equals, sure. No, because that one would give me Wednesday instead of Monday. Maybe it's because of the days. No, but it is right. I'm supposed to loop through the days. What is wrong here? Maybe the index has to be after the V equals days check. I'm gonna try it, yes, but I'm not sure if that's what's wrong. And still one there. Oh, wait. Six eighteen and a Monday. Oh, I'm doing the AM wrong, I think. So it's probably on the days check there. Let me copy the string that they want. So they want 6:18 a.m. Monday. It's gonna be a new time, which is 6:18 plus space plus. Yeah, that's what's missing there. Start one. No, I'm reading the wrong one. Yeah, start one. Plus. There's a comma there. Then 1 day. Maybe we can put it on the same one. So I have the time plus 16 a.m. See what I'm getting here. I'm getting both of them. That's the problem. Yeah, I have to take this. I need to make the same conditions, I think. Maybe this works. So I'm passing all the tests, but there's 3 errors. Honestly, I don't think I care about this because I think the code is right. And I know it's gonna pass anyway. I put it here. And these errors are just because the way that the word is written, I think. Saturday is not in this. Oh, I think I know. Here is not supposed to be args. This is args string. That's the problem. it was working, but maybe this will solve the issue. No, now there's 3 failures. If it's too big to put it on the Python tutor, I'm just gonna end it here. Yeah, there's no way this is gonna fit. Maybe if I take all the spaces. Let's see if this works. Nice. So it is giving me an index of 0. Maybe if I put the index again on top, because that was not a mistake. Maybe that works. No, there's 4 failures again, so. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird that with the args was working, but yeah, it's the same number. Don't understand. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm satisfied with this. I'm gonna go off stream and I'm gonna probably see the solution that other people did. And I might come back later, but probably not. And if I don't come back, I'm probably gonna come back tomorrow to start the next challenge. So see ya.